Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Collegians football preview for this weekend's game against Michigan at Beaver Stadium. It'll be a full stadium whiteout as the Nittany Lions look to rebound off a pretty disappointing loss to Indiana last Saturday at Memorial Stadium. This is John McGonigal, Anna Orso. I'm Steve Petrella. And Penn State has an interesting task to handle this weekend because we don't really know the identity of this team quite yet. We've seen flashes of brilliance from the offense. We've seen some defensive struggles, and they'll have their hands full with Michigan quarterback Devin Garner this week, won't they?
Yeah, Devin Garner presents, a type of offensive player that Penn State really hasn't seen yet this year. He's a dual threat guy, standing at like 6'4", 210. He's a big guy. Played wide receiver for Michigan before switching to quarterback midway through last season. He's the full-time starter this season for the first time for them. Again, dual threat guy. He's had 6 rushing touchdowns this year. He's had a rushing touchdown in 9 consecutive regular season games, and he has 8 passing touchdowns. So he can beat you through the air or on the ground. I think the big thing defensively for Penn State against Garner is that they're going to have to communicate well. The linebackers are going to have to communicate well and be on the same page. That was one thing they weren't against the Hoosiers last week. They're kind of conjumbled. They didn't really, their assignments were kind of mixed up sometimes, and that's when you saw big plays happen for Indiana. And if they're able to sort through that and be able to be on the same page defensively, I think Garner can be held in check. Mike Hull was talking about the big thing with them is keeping him within the pocket and making him a one-dimensional player. So look for Penn State's defense to try and do that on Saturday.
And one thing about Garner, as good of a playmaker as he is, he also struggles with turnovers. He's thrown 8 picks this year, which is the most in the Big Ten. Michigan's thrown 9, also the most in the Big Ten. So it kind of depends which Devin Garner shows up. Is it the Devin Garner that turned the ball over a total of 7 times against Akron and Connecticut, who have a combined 1 win between them? Or is it the Devin Garner who lit up Notre Dame?
For like 4 touchdowns and
4 touchdowns.
Close to 300 yards, yeah.
So I think we see in college football a lot teams who get lulled to sleep a little bit by, low crowd energy, small crowds. But this is one Michigan should be able to get up for.
Yeah.
It's not a rivalry per se, but it's definitely something they've been looking forward to. Sold out Beaver Stadium, and again, it just depends which Garner shows up. And then on offense, Penn State's playmakers are the same they've been all season. Anna, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, we talked a lot last week about how the offense really couldn't seem to get it together against Indiana. But of course, the one standout player was Allen Robinson. So this is a guy from Michigan. It was kind of funny. He talked this week about how Michigan really wasn't interested in him too much during the recruiting process. But he did give us an update on his injury. He fell in the back of the end zone. I believe it was in the 3rd quarter against Indiana. Suffered a back injury. Said he's a little bit sore this week. But not too sore to dress, so he should be fine health-wise. The other big news with him, of course, is that he announced he'll be graduating early. He'll be graduating at the end of the summer of 2014. Insists the NFL is not his mind, but, I mean, I have my doubts, I guess you could say. But talking about him, technically speaking, I mean, yes, he's a standout player. Yes, he can make those big explosive plays. But we've been saying all season, where is the number 2 guy? And I think Kyle Carter's performance was actually really underrated against Indiana last week. And I think out of everybody, he has the most talent and the most potential to become that number 2 guy. So I'll be interested to see how he plays this week against Michigan. And again, Steve kind of mentioned there's been some flashes of brilliance from some of the younger guys even. We've seen good things from Richie Anderson. We've seen good things from Geno Lewis. So again, it's just sort of finding that consistency and finding that momentum. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens on Saturday.
It's interesting to note that Bill O'Brien mentioned this week in his press conference, when somebody asked about that, finding that number 2 receiver, it's what do we want from that number 2 receiver? Is 6 catches good enough? Is 3 from 3 different guys good enough? And I don't think it's a matter of numbers. I think it's just a matter of
reliability.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Hackenberg having that second guy, he just doesn't have to force it to Robinson.
Right. And obviously it goes on the read. O'Brien insists there's not a ton of plays designed specifically for Robinson, but hey, if he's the guy that's open, I mean,
might as well throw it to him.
He's your best player, so
yeah,
might as well get him the ball. I'm sure they'll be getting the ball to him plenty on Saturday. But now we're gonna quickly run through our predictions for this game. Johnny, go ahead.
I was torn with this throughout the week. Still not completely sold on it, but I have Penn State winning 27-24. I think the spread is now 2.5 in favor of the Wolverines. My big thing is I think what Anna hit on with Carter and having second options. I feel like Carter is going to get involved, but look for Penn State to try and control the tempo at home. In a big game, 100K plus is going to be there. They're going to want to control the tempo and the flow of the game, and they're going to do that with the running game. And look for the defense to really string together a good second half. They might have problems with Garner initially, but they should get their stuff together.
Yeah, I again struggled with this one this week too because obviously the Nittany Lions are boasting a massive home field advantage with this one, but I think that both teams have major question marks, but I think Penn State has more question marks at this point, especially defensively. So I have Michigan winning 27-20.
Yeah, I, as the other two did, struggled with this all week. Penn State opened as a 3-point dog, now down to 2.5, 2 in some spots. I think they bounce back. I think the defense does enough. In the end, forces a couple turnovers. They've been struggling all year, forcing turnovers, only 6, ranks 103rd in the country. I think this is the week they take advantage, kind of play that complementary football that Bill O'Brien's been talking about. They're going to get it done 31-28.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Brady Hoke's teams are 5-5 on the road, so.
Yeah, away from the big house is not their best.
Right.
That'll wrap it up. You're from the Daily Collegian office. Stay tuned with us for the rest of the weekend, collegian.psu.edu for your coverage, and also follow PSU Footblog on Twitter for updates throughout the weekend.